Dear father. Knock, knock. I opened my eyes, startled at the noise. The knock sounded so distant, so I went back to bed, confused as to why someone would be awake this late at night. Knock, knock. The knocks continued, louder than before. I then heard the key card making its way into the door scanner, a sound I had grown accustomed to throughout my freshman year. My door opened, and, still half asleep, I heard a voice telling me to wake up. Mr. Farrell, the school dean, walked into my dorm and told me to get my things ready, and that my mom was on the way. You had fallen ill, and my family and I needed to visit you. I didn't get to see you in the hospital. They didn't allow kids inside to observe any treatment, so I sat outside in the glaring Mexicali sun, fighting with my cousins and sisters to find shady spots in the courtyard. For 3 weeks, my daily routine consisted of waking up, having breakfast, driving to the hospital, sitting outside, waiting for news until sunset, then driving back home to eat dinner and sleep. Rinse and repeat the same thing every day. To find some comfort, I gravitated towards my Nintendo Switch. You never saw me use it very much because we were apart when Mom got it for me, but I always hoped we'd find time to play together, just like we did when I was a kid. Do you remember when we'd connect our Nintendo DSs together and play New Super Mario Bros? I needed to find comfort. I needed space to relax, to push my feelings away to appear strong for my mom, my sisters, and the entire family. Those 3 endless weeks blend into a single image in my mind, sitting in the hospital courtyard shade, playing on my Switch. Once my spring break ended, my mom and grandparents told me I needed to go back to school, so I did. My grandparents drove me back to the United States, and on the way, I picked up a new game to pass the time while I waited to hear the inevitable news. For 2 weeks, I navigated school life while trying not to think about you. To be completely honest, I don't remember much about this period in my life. All I can remember about these 2 weeks is spending as much time as possible outside my room, playing games with my friends, going out to dinners over the weekend, or sleeping. I am eternally grateful for all my friends and teachers during this time. While I remained a hard-working student, they gave me grace when I needed it. My friends reached out constantly and treated me with so much love and appreciation. Despite this, I felt an immense dread looming over me. Mom did not keep me updated about the situation in Mexico because she was always busy and wanted to protect me. I assumed that no news meant bad news, and that's the mentality I planned to roll with until the end. Then on April 29th, the news came. I walked through Kirkhill Hall, pacing, trying to find things to do during the off time from volleyball I had been granted. I went back and forth down the hallway, deciding which video game to play or which homework to do, and eventually settled on a nap. I went back to my room, and then a knock came. Knock, knock. I opened the door, and there stood Mr. Rios, my advisor and teacher. In his soft, calming voice, he broke the news that you had died that morning. Surprisingly, I didn't cry. I didn't break down into tears or even feel sad. Instead, I felt an immense relief. I didn't have any hope for your recovery, so I wait and pretend to feel shocked when I knew things wouldn't get better. I told Mr. Rios this and started packing my things. He told me to tell my friends that I'd be leaving indefinitely, so I did exactly that. Played Smash Bros. With Charlie and Christopher, broke the news, and then went away with my aunt to Mexico later that night. Tell me, Papa, what am I allowed to feel? Wherever you're reading this from, do you think that I am a bad son for expecting you to die? Or feeling relief once I heard the news? Right now, I feel empty. I feel sad. I feel regretful. Te extraño. Francisco. Dear Papa, 1 year ago my life changed forever. 1 month ago, my life changed forever again. Papa, the world as you know it doesn't exist anymore. The world changes rapidly. I'm sure you experienced that in your lifetime, but today's world differs from anything you may have experienced. We are living in an incredibly still, motionless world. This new COVID disease brought chaos into the world, but it pales in comparison to the chaos your constant absence continues to bring me. Who do I talk to about it? How do I talk to anyone about it when they're so preoccupied with staying healthy so that a pandemic doesn't kill them? I walked into Ma's room today to check in, but she was in tears. Mijo, ¿sabes qué es hoy? I instantly knew what she meant. As soon as I heard the words, I told her yes and then walked out and stormed back to the room I shared with Mariana. I sat down, turned on the TV, and started playing Super Mario Maker 2. I spent so much time playing this game, thinking about you and how often we played the DS when you were home. Do you remember when I gave you my old 3DS the last time we saw each other? You said you'd been wanting to play New Super Mario Bros. Again, so I dropped it off with the copy you bought for me when you bought my first DS in 2007. My emotions disappeared the second I turned on the system. Spin jump after spin jump, precise wall jumps, bomb throws, and pow block throws all ingrained in my muscle memory from when we played the same game all those years ago. you were here, I'd have you attempt the hardest level I've ever beaten. Out of 1 million attempts, only about 1,000 players actually beat the level. Guess who was one of those players? I think you'd be able to complete it too. To be completely honest, I try not to think about you so much. Spend most days playing video games and school doesn't feel right anymore. I feel like I'm disappointing you, but I can't talk to anyone about how I feel. Hell, I hardly even know how I feel. I wonder, did you ever feel this way? In your solitude after your deportation, what feelings did you have? I know you missed us, especially after how much you cried after seeing us again after your deportation. But to what extent did you let those feelings out after we left Mexico? Did you feel lonely between our visits, the way loneliness consumes me now? I want to learn more how you manage those feelings. Maybe I could learn a thing or two. I kept playing games the entire day. Super Mario Maker 2, Super Smash Bros., Mario Kart 8, all games whose previous entries in the series you introduced me to. Does grief normally look like this? Am I grieving correctly? Te sigo extrañando, Francisco, tu becerro. Querido papá, we're 3 years since you died. The world remains still, like the last time I wrote to you. The pandemic continues. I rarely ever leave the house. I just play video games, do online school, and repeat that almost every day. Do you remember that shed you built my grandpa built in his house's backyard? That extremely ugly green one? My grandpa and I converted it into an office for me to do work in. We even managed to get the Wi-Fi to extend all the way to it. Now, I don't even have to go back inside the house anymore. I can just sit in the shed all day, play games, do schoolwork, call my friends, and so on. I feel incredibly alone. I don't remember the last time I saw my friends. I rarely see mom anymore. I spend all my time in this stupid confined shed. The walls feel like they're closing in on me, no matter how much I try to make this space my own by adding shelves with some books or by hooking up my Nintendo Switch. The shed remains an isolating, frigid place. Did you feel this lonely living in that tiny house all by yourself? From what I remember, your old room and this shed seem about the same size. I know you had some cousins near you, and while I don't doubt that helped some isolation, being away from the family you spent the better part of 15 years building up towards probably hurt you immensely. Hell, I live with our family, and I still feel alone. I can only imagine the torture you may have gone through. I feel selfish, but I don't know what else to feel. Papa, please don't be upset at me. I want to do more for our family, but I just can't. I wish I could hear your voice again. You always knew what to do. Tu becerro, Francisco. Papa, I'm a high school senior now, graduating in a month. Today my entire school found out about you. At my school, a tradition exists that a senior gives to a speech to the entire school. Twice a week, a new senior will take the chapel stand and give a 10, 12-minute talk to everyone. I chose to give my speech on April 29th, the same day that you died 3 years ago. I originally planned to give my talk in October, but then noticed that my friend, Dylan Anabi, had signed up for April 29th. After asking him once, he agreed to switch with me. If I had given the talk back then, I don't think I could have said everything I did today. Early in the semester, Mr. Dookie, the class dean, and I talked about how much I missed you. He told me missing you was okay, and he used a word that I'd never used before to describe what I felt when grieving you: guilt. I lived with that guilt for so long, and I had nowhere to go. 2 months ago, I started going to therapy. I know this might seem a bit foreign to you, but I had to talk to someone about my struggles, about how much I missed you. I finally talked about the guilt I felt for missing you, how much I missed my family, and how much I regretted not doing enough for them. I wanted to be like you, supporting them in every way possible, keeping myself afloat, but I couldn't. I had already been accepted into college, like you had wanted me to, but I felt utterly disappointed and lonely in myself. Despite these accomplishments, I locked myself in my room for hours on end, purposely staying up late, exhausting myself playing video games so as to fall asleep within seconds of my head hitting the pillow. I didn't want to think about you or my future because I felt so overwhelmed, and I dreaded those late nights on my bed because my brain would go to very scary places. Eventually, it all came crashing down on me, and at a moment where I desperately needed help, my favorite teacher, Mr. Choi, pushed me to get it. I wish you had gotten to meet Mr. Choi. I think you would have liked him a lot. I also wish you could have met my high school therapist, Kristen Tappan. Through my conversation with her, I've grown immensely. Just a few months ago, my vision felt extremely crowded. I would wake up in a haze every morning and make it through my day by dragging my feet everywhere. Nowadays, I can see everything so clearly. I can see that I'm going to graduate soon, that my time at Webb is ending soon, and most importantly, that everyone around me truly cares about me, not just my family, but my teachers, mentors, and my friends. Today, for the first time, I am surrounded by love and admiration on April 29th. While in previous years I've chosen to run away and hide my feelings on this day, I took a risk and opened up to more than 300 strangers who had no idea who I was before my talk. I would love for you to read my speech one day. Many times throughout high school, giving up felt like the easiest option, but I took the more difficult, demanding path. And look at me now. I'm heading to college with a strong head on my shoulders, with the strongest friendships I've ever had, and the most beautiful relationship with my family. Still, though, I want to ask, are you proud of me? Con amor, Francisco. Papa, in 4 months I'll be teaching in Los Angeles. Does that surprise you? Growing up, you would always tell me to stay in school so as to not turn out like you. I'll admit this confused me immensely as a kid, because I thought we had it pretty good growing up. You worked hard every day, took my sisters, mom, and me out to eat on Sundays, and you often bought me toys and video games. I obviously never knew about our other struggles growing up, but I felt so comfortable with everything we had, even if it wasn't much. I got grades because you encouraged me to do so, but never because I knew what they would amount to. I'd get rewarded for getting good grades, so I kept going to school and trying my hardest. Eventually, I realized that the rewards meant nothing to me. I realized that the feeling I'd get from a simple, I'm proud of you, outweighed any material reward you'd get from me. The emotions that would come over me with just those 4 words drove me further than you can even imagine. I continued chasing this feeling after you died. I worked hard in high school to get into college and continued that diligence at Amherst. I came in with little expectations about what I wanted to do after college, but felt uncertain throughout my freshman year. I tried many different things, such as exploring courses on American law and the relationship between physics and music, and even did some improv. I also got my first job. I became a student museum educator at Amherst Art Museum, the Mead. I only had a job to support myself in college and potentially support mom back home, much like you did, but something incredibly fascinating happened to me during the first few months as an educator. Let me tell you about a kid I worked with named Jacob. Because the museum on campus wasn't open due to renovations and construction, my work initially consisted of teaching art making lessons at the local high school. We specifically worked with the special needs section, and I met Jacob there. Jacob had just lost his older brother and a difficult family life. Having only been at Summit for a few weeks, Jacob spoke very little and seemed disinterested in other activities. However, as someone who experienced grief in high school, I decided to spend our twice-a-week visits working with him. Eventually, Jacob began talking to me and opening up about his past. I learned that although he didn't particularly like drawing or painting, he loved building Legos and model cars. The weeks went on, and Jacob continued talking to me and stepping out of his shell. On our last session together, he gave me a small hug and thanked me for spending time with him. In my head, memories between you and me flashed. Those 4 words kept repeating and repeating. I'm proud of you, man. I told Jacob this as I left the building, and then the tears came. What a surreal feeling. Pride in someone else. Did you feel that same way when you'd say those words to me? I wanted to keep finding this feeling, so I kept working as an educator at the museum, and eventually fell in love with education. I'd be lying if I said your absence didn't influence my Amherst journey, but this moment with Jacob and the memories about you that came up in that moment drove me further than you can even imagine. 3.5 years down the road, with my Amherst journey coming to an end, I can't say I've done everything I wanted to. I still struggle, I still cry and get anxious, and I still sometimes feel like giving up. But one thing that I can say now, after experiencing all that college has thrown at me, is that I've gained the confidence in myself to handle anything the world throws at me. The same way you smiled in the face of hardship, the same way you took forward steps even in your lowest moments, inspired me all the way these last 4 years. I still chase that feeling that I used to get when you told me you're proud of me, but I'm not going to ask you if you're proud of me. Not anymore. I know you are. And for that reason, for the first time in my life, I can say with a deep, profound, and confident breath that I am proud of myself. I love you so much. Pran.